Hello, blessed channel. Welcome to this LUXCORE tutorial for Blender. LUXCORE is at version 2.6 and we're going to use it with Blender 3.2. Yes, it's possible. And I'm going to show you how to install it because many people, and that's a shame, don't miss out on LUXCORE and don't believe those famous channels and people talking about LUXCORE and being totally wrong about LUXCORE. Let's learn how to work with LUXCORE because LUXCORE is such a fantastic render engine. Obviously, creating a jewelry render scene using LUXCORE 2.6 Blender 3.2. Go to the web and put LUXCORE latest build. Enter. Now, if you go to the official website, you're going to find Blend LUXCORE 2.6. And here it clearly says will not work with version 3.0 plus of Blender. You need to go to the automatic build. Then you need to go to Blend LUXCORE. Click again. And here we are. Okay, so I'm on Windows. So it's LUXCORE latest build Win 64.zip. You click that, you download it. Okay, now let's go to our, so the download folder. Here is my zip file. Double click on that. And here you have the Blend LUXCORE folder. Now that folder, the Blend LUXCORE folder, you unzip it. And you go to your software Blender Foundation folder. You select the version you're using, 3.2 alpha right here. I'm still using 3.2 alpha. Okay, then you go to the version, scripts, add-ons, and here you copy, let's say install. It's an add-on. So you copy the folder right here in this folder, Blend LUXCORE. All right. And this folder has all the LUXCORE environment for Blender. All right. Okay, perfect. So now you simply open Blender, you go to edit preferences, you go to your add-ons. Here you can search LUXCORE. All right, you turn it on. Okay, you can have information here. So here, important, if you have NVIDIA cards, use the CUDA, which is the NVIDIA calculation unit. If you have AMD, use the OpenCL. Okay, this is very basic knowledge. You should know that about your graphic cards. Okay, rendering softwares. LUXCORE is up to date, fast and competitive, and LUXCORE is capable of rendering light in ways that other render engines can't. So when you try to turn it on, sometimes you will have error messages, and obviously that's always sad when you get an error message. Generally is because you have the wrong version of Blender or the wrong version of LUXCORE, or that your hardware is not. Okay, so now that we've seen how to install the LUXCORE as an add-on, because LUXCORE is a full add-on for Blender. Unlike Octane, remember Octane is a special edition of Blender entirely, and that's very different. And then in the render engine, you're going to see LUXCORE. Let's turn it on and let's go to preview render. So it can take a long time before you see something happening. All right, so something important up here, it says device, CPU, but that's for the rendering. Anyway, let's go to GPU. But we are in the viewport preview. So we must go down here, viewport render. And here again, that's different. It says device, CPU. Let's go to GPU. All right. Now, it must compile the kernels. And here it says compiling CUDA kernels. just once. It usually takes 15 to 30 minutes. Okay, so let LUXCORE compile your kernels for your hardware. Go make yourself a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, go feed your cat, go pet your cat, go talk to your girlfriend, make love to your girlfriend, take your time. Maybe LUXCORE is going to take an hour or two compiling the kernels if necessary. Take all the time you want to make love to your girlfriend. Don't be in a hurry. Let LUXCORE prepare the kernels for your hardware. Then come back happily. It's just once when you install LUXCORE, or if you change your driver, you'll have to compile the kernels again. Many softwares have to do that. And LUXCORE is kind enough to tell you right up there that it's compiling the kernels. Here it's compiling the kernels for the NVIDIA graphic cards, for the CUDA, so we'll have to wait. Be patient. Patience is always rewarded. All right, so now that the GPU is working for the viewport preview, everything is fast, just like with any other render engine. This is very basic stuff. Most of the time, your GPU is faster than your CPU. Obviously, if you have a fantastic Threadripper or a very powerful dual processor like a Xeon, you can use a CPU. That's all right. It might be even faster than your GPU. And especially when it came to LUXCORE comparing to other render engines, the default settings are not, you can't compare render engines on default settings. That's not how it works. Each and every render engine has its own capabilities, and you should rather talk about what features you get because of the quality also that LUXCORE brings. But that's not the only thing. Quality must be here and speed must be here, and speed is here. So such a famous channel stating that LUXCORE is slow, that's incorrect, uncalled for. Okay, so now we are here to make a fantastic jewelry render using LUXCORE, and we're here to understand how to make LUXCORE work in the correct speed and quality that we want and we need. Solid mode, delete the cube, delete the light. Let's leave the camera, we'll need it later. All right, so like in the other tutorials, I'm going to append my jewels. You can import an STL, an object file, depends where you have your jewelry design. And okay, and something you must know using LUXCORE is that some materials are compatible between Cycles and LUXCORE. You must know that because that's a great advantage. Some materials, some nodes of the material, of the shaders between Cycles and LUXCORE. But anyway, today, even if I'm going to import my model, I'm going to append it from the Cycles scene. Okay, so let's take the gemstones, the ring, gemstone, garnets, diamonds, append. Obviously, I'm going to create the materials for LUXCORE because we're here to learn how to use LUXCORE for LUXCORE, in LUXCORE, all LUXCORE. Okay, so I won't be insisting much more or talking much more about the Cycles materials, the nodes, the shader nodes from Cycles that work with LUXCORE. But obviously you should know that because the integration between Blender Cycles and LUXCORE is very strong. It's very good. It's very important. So you should know that right away about LUXCORE. All right, so we have this ring. Okay, let's create a collection. Let's move that right here. Let's go to the top view. Pretty nice. Don't forget to save. Let's save this somewhere here. Let's call it LUXCORE video. Here we are. Okay, so today we're going to model a pretty simple scene, yet interesting. Let's add a plane. If you follow my channels, my social media, you've seen a drawing that I did the other day preparing the scene that we're going to create today. You should always, you should plan in advance if possible when you're going to create a render, making drawings, which is one of the best ways. Okay, now let's go to edit mode, extrude on the Z-axis, right there. Not too thick, maybe here. Now a mesh normals outside. Okay, now let's take this face here. Let's make a W, subdivide, subdivide, subdivide. How many times? Like this is pretty good. Okay, I'm going to select these faces with shift, and now I'm going to scale them like this to be a bit closer to the edges. Okay, here now let's extrude on the Z-axis, which is almost always the case. Extrude. Let's extrude a couple of times for the subdivisions that are going to come in action right now. So let's go to modifiers. Okay, we might run a bevel first, and then let's go with subdivision. Okay, I have this. I like it pretty much. I just don't like these corners. They're a bit too weird for what I want. So what we can do is a remesh. Let's find a voxel size, 05, pretty interesting. Let's go at 03. I prefer this setting. Everything is smooth now. That's a pretty nice little ceramic table. Okay, this type of base is from a type of ceramic that we use in Mexico. Many jewelers know these. Something like this. It's a very simple ceramic base. They're very cheap, but they're very good. They're not the best materials for soldering. That's the reference. And some of these bases, they have the small legs like I modeled just now. So this is a reference for jewelers and for this jewelry rendering scene, all right? Okay. Now this is going to be in the middle of a small staircase. Let's create a plane. Let's center it. Size, we'll see about the dimension. That's too big. It should be something here. All right, now let's put it into place accurately. Okay, we have this, edit mode, save, extrude on the Z-axis. Let's come here. Now, this face, I'm going to delete only the face. Okay, now Alt Z, transparency, select the top vertices, extrude, and then scale. A mesh normals to the outside, just like this, save. We're going to subdivide 2 times. Now here, I'm going to select these vertices. Okay, now let's make a Shift D, click, key selection to extract them, exit edit mode, and let's go to these vertices. Okay, so we have just these vertices on the edges. Okay, so what I'm going to do is make them a bit more narrow. SY, resize at 0.5, and do the same on the other axis. This is on the X-axis, but it's numerical at 0.5, so we have the same result, the same sizes, okay? Sometimes doing things numerically is very convenient and it makes things completely straight, even and symmetrical without that many tools involved. So learn to work with your numbers, you know, mathematics, even very simple mathematics are always useful. Obviously, all that we do in 3D is pure mathematics made visual. Now select one axis like this, make an extrusion and SX pathway like this, so the scale is going to be 7. Then select the other axis as extrusion, SY 7 times. All right, now A, we're going to extrude this very slightly on the Z axis. 0.1 is going to be enough. Okay, A, mesh normals outside. So we have this. If you see weird artifacts, just go to view, clip start, maybe 1, maybe 10, depends your distances. Okay, save. Now we're going to make small stairs. Okay, so we're going to select from the first mesh we made. Let's select this. Shift D, P selection. Okay, so we extracted these faces, exit edit mode, select those faces, go to edit mode. Now we're going to extrude accordingly. So first select all the faces and extrude them also slightly, 0.1, we're good. That's important to avoid bad overlapping textures. All right, now extrude the stairs. Okay, let's go at 3.1. Let's make the other levels. Extrude 3.1 and the last stair, extrude 3.1. Okay, we have some nice stairs. And here, let's do a mirror based on this. This is on the y-axis. Now let's make a shift D, rotate 90 degrees on the z-axis, and then the new mirror is on the x-axis. All right, we have some staircases. So let's make them the same dimension than pathways we've made earlier. Okay, so the scale is at 0.5. And the other side also SY at 0.5. All right, exit edit mode, save. Okay, great. Now we're going to add some small decorations on the sides of the pathwalks. So let's go to edit mode here. Let's select that side face, pretty long. Let's make a shift D to copy, P selection to extract. Let's select this, save. Let's go to edit mode. A, we're going to scale it a bit on the Z axis, so it's a bit higher, and let's extrude it on the Z axis, just like this. So something very simple, yet it's going to be very neat with the textures. Okay, now this, we're going to make a mirror just like that. So the mirror here, and let's go also on the Y axis. And now let's make a copy, shift D, 90 degrees on Z. Okay, let's start naming things a bit. These are side decos 2, side decos 1. That's path. Now we have some stairs around here. Stairs 2, let's say. Plane, that's the main ground right here, and this is the ceramic stand. Okay, everybody has a name. Yes. Okay, these objects go in the other collection. That collection is the jewel. Save it. Okay, we still want some, zoom in this, extrude like this, and this one extrude all the way to the floor there. Okay, cubes right there, size might be 8. The corners, okay, if we don't see the corners, let's go to another matcap. Let's go with shadows. Okay, so now we can see the corner right there, and let's go at 43.7. Perfect. Now edit mode, Shift S, cursor to selected, add a sphere. Let's make it 48.24 for the segments, and let's make this bigger, just just a bit smaller than the cube. Let me see my drawing always. We have a reference. Always check the reference. Okay, let's save this. Okay, so sometimes you bring the image reference directly into Blender. You can bring it to the view like this. It's pretty fun. So this is, you can see there, it says LUXCORE Rendering Tutorial. You can see the drawing. It's very simple. We're almost done. Let's just add some bevel right here. This shade smooth, normals auto smooth. That's a bit better. I'm going to adapt the vertices of the ground, some mirror modifier based on the main ground X and Y. So now let's start preparing the lights, the point of view, all the settings for the render, slowly but surely. Okay, let's start thinking about the viewing angle. I'll control 0. Obviously, the clipping distance is always a lousy friend right there. So here the clips start clip and at 12,000 or more. Yeah, this is pretty good. Now the viewport display, the size, I'd go like 200. Now the reference image, let's grab the camera and move it. Let's make a square render. So modeling is done, camera angle is set. Don't forget to check face orientations. Everything is blue. Okay, let's save. Now we need lighting and materials. Okay, so in LUXCORE, it's very easy. HDRI, go get your image. So I'm going to use the same that we downloaded the other day for the other renderers. And it should be around here. The Brown Photo Studio 02 4K AXR. Here it is. Okay, now, so you know that we are on GPU. I can remove the denoiser also. Okay, something very important also that I forgot to mention, the denoiser. Like in many render engine previews, the denoising is very much welcome, but makes everything slower. Generally, to work comfortably, you want the denoiser to be turned off on the viewport render using the GPU. Okay, and don't forget that LUXCORE has the optics denoising, which is the fastest denoiser generally. It removes some details, but well, this is a viewport render preview. But let's turn off the denoiser. All right, so now we want to set the bounces right away. We're making jewelry renders. You already know that the bounces should be pretty high. You already know that the bounces should be pretty high. Let's go at 32. Obviously, that's going to make the render slower. The more bounces you have, the more calculation you're going to have, the slower it's going to go. So that's where you want to choose the quality of the render. More bounces, more light effects, you know, global illumination and indirect lights, all the color touches from the bounces, from the metal, from the gemstones, they come from the bounces, okay? But obviously, like I said, more bounces, slower renders. But set that right from the beginning, okay? Because all the light and colors in the scene and the materials are going to look different depending on the bounces. So if you don't set them properly at the beginning, your settings for your lights and materials won't be that accurate. And then if you change the bounces, you'll have to tweak all your materials and lights again because they're going to look different, okay? This is a very general thing that you need to do right away from the beginning, the bounces. Today, I will use a light tracing. I'm going to show you how to make the caustics, which is just a delight. In LUXCORE, it's the best software for fast caustics. They're amazing, and LUXCORE is capable of doing metallic caustics and obviously transparent caustics much better than any other software. Faster, more accurate, wonderful light tracing capabilities of LUXCORE. Okay, and that's why we're here. If LUXCORE is famous for something, is fast caustics, very high quality caustics, very fast caustics. So we're jewelers making jewelry renders. We want to use LUXCORE. because that's one of the best features of LUXCORE, and it does it very good looking and very fast. But we'll set that later, because first we need to create the materials and the lights. Okay, the HDR is ready. Now, by example, we can see that my diamonds, they already have a material, but I'm going to remove it. All right, let's delete this chow material. So everything is gray as you would expect it to be. Okay, so let's start from the gray default material, the look that everybody should have now before setting up the materials is gray. So the environment is already loaded, HDRI. So now we can start working on the materials. Let's go to shading. Okay, here, don't make the EV preview. It's useless, obviously. Let's go to solid view for a second. Okay, so here we're on the shader, and let's start assigning materials, creating materials. In solid view, let's go to new material. Okay, so here there's something you should know. If you come from cycles, there's the shader editor. But if you're on the shader editor, you'll see nothing, because you need to go to the LUXCORE material nodes. Very important. Okay, this is ceramic. Let's start naming and creating materials. Okay, maybe here let's go for the gold. Okay, so if you have a cycles material, it's going to appear here. You can use the cycles nodes. Okay, but like I said, today, LUXCORE nodes. Okay, let's set the goal. Very easy. Remove this, add. Let's go to material, metal. So LUXCORE has some presets for some types of materials, which is always very nice, very good. Material right there. And this is going to be white gold. So roughness, like it's 0. And let's have a preview here. We should be pretty good already. Okay, so the goal, let's have a look here. All right, now we want some bump, like, you know, the scratches like in the other. Okay, so we want scratches. So let's add a texture, image texture. Okay, that's going to go into bump. Obviously, we need a bump node. So let's go at bump here, bump, set it right here. There's no UV. Okay, so it's going to be important. But let's load the image first. Let's go and search for your favorite scratches. Favorite scratches right there. Okay, now nothing's happening because there's no UV. The software is saying that. LUXCORE is already saying there's no UV. Okay, so you can add this right here. Now, add UV map. Okay, so add UV map, but obviously we need to configure the UV editing for the ring. Okay, now you can see that something is already happening, but we want to check our UV mapping. Okay, so we're in the UV editing section as usual. Let's make a hue projection like this. Very simple. Should be enough. Let's go to shading again to watch the preview and to tweak the settings. Okay, let's try bump at 0.1 so we can see the bump in action here and there. We could try scale 2 for the UV and make it stronger so we get more tiles here. Let's go maybe even at 3 for the UV scale. That's 3 times your image. We can rotate it also, something like this. This is pretty nice. Okay, so this is white gold with some scratches with the bump map. We can see that the quality is as good as Octane. We wouldn't be here using LUXCORE if LUXCORE was not one of the best render engine available nowadays. Great. Now, diamonds. The star of the show, as always, and in LUXCORE we're going to see that new diamond material. It's very easy to set. Okay, so let's go at material. It's going to be a glass material. Material. All right. IOR 2.418. Now dispersion 0.0044. Go to solid view and go to viewport preview again. And here we are with very accurate dispersion for the diamonds because LUXCORE is an unbiased render engine, and calculations are as natural as possible for the path of the light. So diamonds are set. You might always check that it's a full white for the transmission and the reflection color. All right, we're full white, and this is just amazing. Diamonds are ready. Now we have garnets. Okay, let's erase this one. New. So these are Hesonite garnets, which are orange, yellowish garnets, amazing garnets. You know, I love gemstones too. That's what connected me to jewelry when I was a kid, gemstones. Then I forgot about that during 10 years. And when I remembered that I had that connection between the gemstones and the people, that the gemstone connected me with people, that's when I became a jeweler. Okay, add material, glass. We are, so obviously here is going to be different. So the garnet IOR, all right, so the IOR 1.88, transmission color, let's go at something orangish, yellowish, like I just said. Solid view, render preview. Okay, and here we have some pretty amazing Hesonite garnets. So now the garnets are slightly rough. So rough, turn on. And roughness, let's go at 0.001. We have to test that. They're slightly rough. You have to wait a bit before you judge the result because light is adding at each sample. Okay, and we can change the reflection color also to something a bit more yellow, and so the core something more orange. Obviously it depends on the gemstone, right? There are some garnets that are more transparent than others, and some have more just like a translucency and they're not transparent at all. This is very good. Now here we have a tourmaline. Let's set a new material right here. Tourmaline. You know how it goes by now. Let's add a glass material. This is a gemstone here in Luxcore. Material. So this is pink. Let's zoom out a bit. Okay, here. Okay, pink, full white, full strength. Let's go here maybe. IOR 1.64. Solid view, render preview. Okay, you can put a very slight dispersion on the tourmaline. Okay, and also let's learn to use the gradient color ramp. So let's set the color ramp from pink to white. Let's connect the node. But here we need, actually you can see texture blender here. We're going to use the blend from that menu. You can connect the node right there and save. We need obviously to add the 3D mapping. So hit the add button. Okay, and here we are. All right, so here we don't necessarily see the gradient in action. We don't see exactly where the white begins and all of that. So I'm going to focus on the gemstone alone, and I'm going to set a very different color. And we can see now very clearly that we have the gradient in action in the gemstone. Okay, that's very important to visualize. So now I can work, we can add different nuances of pink and the white. Okay, and don't forget to set the offset 0.5 and all of that, so you can tweak your gradient as much as you want and you can rotate it if necessary. So the tourmaline has some color variations, which is always more attractive. Okay, now let's go to solid view. Let's go back to the entire scene. Let's save. Okay, so this is great. We've done the gold, the gemstones. Now we need to make materials for the rest of the scene to create an ambience, to create a mood, and obviously make a richer scene for this jewel. Okay, let's start working with the rest of the material. Let's start with the base here, show nodes. Okay, so most of the time I use glossy materials because most of things in real life are somehow glossy. Okay, let's add a texture image. We'll need to set up the UV, you already know that, but we'll go step by step through the process. We are here to learn how to do the entire scene in Luxcore. Okay, my new textures. So here I have some ceramic. I took a picture the other day. Should be pretty nice. Okay, now set the roughness higher into at 0.2. Now we want some bump, so I connect the node, then I add the bump right in the panel here. Now let's play with the strength of the bump. Maybe let's go at 0.3. Let's go to UV editing, select everything, and let's do a cube projection. Cube projection is simple. so I don't need to manually unwrap the UVs. Sometimes you'll have to do that, okay? But let's keep it simple. Now that we have the UV, set it here if necessary, a more suited strength. This is much too strong. Also, because of the geometry, sometimes you need to make an Alt-C and then go back to UV editing to properly set the UV map to the geometry, to the finished geometry, because the modifiers sometimes don't follow with the UV. So here we can see the difference. This is a lot better. I'm starting to like it. We'll have to see about the colors, the palette a bit later, but for now it's starting to be pretty good. Now let's make the mapping on the main floor. New material. Okay, this one I'm going to keep matte material, texture, image. So I want this like a stone, like a concrete material. Let's open, let's have a look what do we have here, or maybe marble, maybe. Now in LUXCORE we can take advantage of the magnificent randomized tiling. Let's select this and let's put my scale maybe at 6 with no seams. And this is always very interesting. Add bump. You know, here you can always exaggerate so you can see the effect. Okay, we're done with this. Let's call it marble. Now we have these. Okay, so here what I'm going to do is erase all the nodes. I'm going to copy from this. So let's make an A, select everything, Alt-C a million times. Now here, Control V. Copy the nodes, and here we are. So this is like a sphere decoration, and another type of stone with, okay, maybe this, let's put it on the image right there, and we can lower the brightness, maybe 2 levels, something like this. So we're starting to have more contrast. The problem is mostly for the faces in this orientation, because it's compressing the image and it looks horrendous, and we don't like that. I don't like that, you don't like that, we don't like that. Okay, and let's find better proportion. Okay, I'm starting to like it. Obviously, we're lacking shadows because I have no light source. The HDR is making shadows, but in some other direction, okay? So we are going to need area lights anyway, and that's also part of the problem now because this is very dull, okay? As it should be at this stage anyway. Let's work on that, and we need some caustics. So let's bring add light, area light. Now this light, this is going to be a general light. Okay, the lighting. Very important. Let's go to sampling, advanced, light strategy. Let's go at power. Now the light also unit power. And let's go something much too strong and we'll tweak from there. Okay, let's do a preview. I think I don't want the shadows to be too sharp. Let's go at 6,000 and well, the size. Let's work on the size, maybe 5. Obviously, I can change the efficacy of the light also. Okay, now the icing on the cake. We want some caustics. Yeah, so let's showcase what LUXCORE has better than any other render engine. And this needs a laser area light. So this is the laser light, area light laser. Now, you need to turn on the light tracing. The glossiness, I can bring it down because my metal and my gemstone, they have some roughness. So the lower the glossiness, the more caustics you get, because even rough materials are going to generate caustics. All right. So glossiness low, light rays 100%. So obviously now it's going to be a bit slower because LUXCORE calculates the caustics live in the render preview in the viewport, and you're going to see that it's not even that slow. See, so now obviously what's going on, this huge white circle is the light, the spotlight, let's say the laser light. So it's a very strong light. So the thing is, I need to find one exact spot, and that's why not that many people do this, because they're unwilling to search that perfect spot. This is exactly the G spot, you know? And if you don't find it, it's totally useless, all right? So when you know how to find it every time. Now, the size of the light makes the size of that circle, which also makes the sharpness of the caustics. Okay, here we're starting to get here and there. And also we need to find an angle and the distance and the size of the lights, etc., to get interesting caustics. That's why this is exactly like the G spot. It all goes together. So we're getting caustics from the white gold and from the gemstones. And LUXCORE is one of the only available render engines capable of doing that, and especially doing that live like this. Because then it's always also evaluating at an artistic level if the caustics are bringing anything interesting to the scene, you know? And that's also a question that you need to ask yourself. The caustics sometimes, and obviously you can put more lights, more laser lights, as many as you want to get any caustic that you like. So finding beautiful caustics is a special work that you need to do. Okay? And most people say it's useless. The caustics, they're not that necessary. But believe me, every render that I achieved using caustics properly, they came out amazing. They came out spectacular. And it's something out of this world. So it's always worth it. Okay, here I like this result. Don't forget to save. Let's turn on the other light. So the result is a bit more subtle. We need to know. The photon cache is important because, like it says, if you stay on the option, it's going to tell you how it's going to help you and what the option is for. This is great in LUXCORE because the help is included in many options now. Used in final render, I need the photon cache for this render. Yes. Environment light. That's when you have only small. So if you have an open scene, don't use the environment light cache. Only when you have small openings in a room and windows and things like that. This is not the case. I won't be using the environment cache. The indirect light is used when we have many light sources contributing small parts to the scene. This is not the case here. So in my case, I only need the photon cache, and it's going to make things faster for the caustics. Okay. Then you also need to set, okay, the denoiser needs a lot of memory. So at high resolution, I lower the memory like this, especially if you want all the options for the denoiser to be turned on. Okay. Then this is no animation. The result is going to be RGB compression 0. We're going to save this as LUXCORE video final render 4K, enter, and it's going to be a 4K render. Okay, so 200% square. And now also, so the bounces, we've set that early on at the beginning. The light tracing for the caustics from the laser lights at 100%. The glossiness quite low because I have bumps and pretty much roughness. Okay, so I need a low glossiness reaction for the caustics. Clamping, you need to run a render for the clamping because the clamping can be auto-calculated by LUXCORE. I'm not going to use it, and mostly what I see on screen is what I'm going to get in my render at the end. So, and now before we do the render, we need some halt condition here. Okay, and LUXCORE for that is very nice. You can use time, samples, or lag path, which are the caustics or the noise and all the rest together. I'm going to go with samples at 850 samples. Not maybe, let's go at 1,000 samples. That's a pretty nice quality already, especially for the caustics. We always want to know how to make the depth of field. So here I added an empty, then you go to camera settings, and up here you have the depth of field. You set it to your focus object and the f-stop distance. And when you go to camera render preview, you're going to see the depth of field. The depth of field is almost always a good thing on macro views like jewelry renders. It gives that very nice realism touch. Okay, so LUXCORE has some very nice camera features. Color aberration and bloom and vignetting are some that I use quite often. So let's turn the bloom on. In jewelry, it's pretty common to use the bloom. Here, it's obviously much too strong, much too big. So we're going to bring this. So let's go like a 2.5%, something like 12.5 for the strength. Then it also depends on the size of the render. So you need to make test renders. That's very important. I won't be using the vignetting here. It's always good to know the statistics of your scene. So let's go check the statistics here. We have 8 million faces. So at least you should know that this scene is not optimized at all. 8 million faces is already a pretty high number, and that slows down the render much. So if I could bring this down to something like 1 or 2 millions maybe, that would lower the render time easily by half. I won't do that today, but anyway, things you should know. And when the render is complete, this is the combined view. You need to go to the noise, and here something special happens. The caustics from the cache are added during the denoising process. So the difference is huge. It's what we had in the viewport preview, basically. But go to denoised, because here all the photon cache is added to the render for the denoiser to complete the process. And we get this. And you say, wow. All right. And as always, save your render here. Put the name you like. This one is okay. That was a fast preview, and this is the final render. All right. Don't miss out on LUXCORE, and don't believe those famous channels and people talking about LUXCORE and being totally wrong about LUXCORE and all the settings in LUXCORE in Blender 3.2. It's really amazing to have this render engine working. Don't forget to contribute, to donate to LUXCORE and to Blender, and also to my channel. You're most welcome, or become members or buy my assets. That's a great way to support my channel. If you like what I do, if you like the tutorials and you want more tutorials, that's a great way to support my work on the channel. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Now you know that LUXCORE is fast as any other render engine. So don't doubt in using LUXCORE and downloading and installing the LUXCORE add-on render engine for Blender. It's amazing. LUXCORE uses the entire power of your hardware, unlike Octane or RenderMan, which are blocked to 1 GPU on the free tiers. And this is to get the best quality possible with an unbiased render engine working in Blender. All right. So as always, be nice to people, be nice to animals, be nice to the planet. Take care. See you soon.